Hello, and welcome to this episode of Women in Engineering, success stories from STEM professionals. In this episode, I will be talking with Palisha Sthapit, technical resource engineer at Rinker Materials, about her experience as a young woman of color in the engineering industry, covering her role as a technical resource engineer and the challenges and growth opportunities faced in a male-dominated field. I am your host, Tiffany Teachy, a senior mechanical engineer, STEM advocate, TEDx international speaker, and an internationally recognized author of children's books, which includes What Can I Be? STEM Careers from A to Z, and the STEM Crew Kids Adventures series. And I also host the Read It Right radio show on WDRB Media, and I'm the owner of Thrive Edge Publishing and the owner, publishing consultant of Inspired Authors Publishing. And with that, let's jump right into today's episode. Now it's time to jump right into the main segment of our episode. Today I have with me Palisha Sthapit. Palisha, welcome to the Women in Engineering podcast.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes.
for having
Well,
me.
let's go ahead into it. Can you tell us about your current role as a technical resource engineer at Rinker Materials and what your day-to-day responsibilities look like?
So, as a technical resource engineer, as the name of the title suggests, I work as a technical resource, wherein I work on different projects with consulting firms or design firms, and they'll have questions regarding the products that we make, so they'll be specifying our products a lot, so I work with them on those projects. I also work a lot with cities, counties, DOTs, and other agencies when they have questions about upcoming projects, if they need to specify our products in those. I also work with the cities and agencies or counties and other agencies to discuss their specifications, especially related to our products, and if they what kind of specifications that they have that are related to our product, and then standard installation details and stuff like that. As a part of my job, I do a lot of education stuff as well. So I do a lot of presentations, be it doing lunch and learns for consulting firms, or like a half day workshop or a full day workshop. So it's a lot of education as well. Overall, my job entails doing a lot of like outreach, networking, and building professional relationships. So to like describe it in a like day-to-day basis, it's very hard because no 2 days are the same. And I think that's the most exciting part of the job, because like today I could be doing like a full day workshop at a city, right? And tomorrow maybe I'll have my first meeting with like a consulting firm with a like for a project, and the second meeting with the city to discuss like specifications and stuff. And then maybe in the afternoon I have like a lunch and learn presentation that I'm giving, and then right after I need to go like to a professional event, to like network and build relationships and get leads. So again, like day to day is very very different, like no 2 days are the same, but overall, that's what the job is.
Awesome. I love it. And I agree with you. When we have these jobs and everything, it's a matter of you never know what, it's going to be. And I think we went into these jobs thinking, okay, we're going
Hmm.
to be challenged. We don't know what might happen each day, but it's all about how you're able to tackle it. So I love how you shared your different journeys with how you deal from a day to day. Like you said, it's different each day. So how you handle it is important. So I love how you shared
Uh-huh.
that. Now let's talk about it. As a young woman of color in a male dominated field, which I can relate to,
Hmm.
what unique challenges have you faced
Yeah.
in the engineering sector?
Yeah, so that's really a three-part question. Like being a young woman and being a young person, a woman and like a woman of color, it can be challenging at times. But to be like super honest, overall, I've had a very very good experience. It's been like about 2 years in the industry now, and the people that I work with, they're like super warm, very make me very comfortable, and they haven't like necessarily looked down upon me just because I'm a woman or anything like that. But I think when I started off, I was just out of college, and it was a little overwhelming in the beginning because like they don't teach you a lot about like how we make pipes, or like how pipes installed and all that stuff in school. That's like a whole different world that was entering. So initially, I had a little bit of an imposter syndrome, and I mean, like people didn't directly tell me like this, but I did realize that sometimes people weren't taking me seriously. Probably, I was like a young person and probably also a woman. But I think over time you just have to stay confident, and they're like right in their own way, because like nobody knows everything when they've just started like new in the industry, right? So you have to work hard. That's what I did. I worked hard. I asked a lot of questions and I stayed confident. And I think that's it didn't take me long to like overcome that imposter syndrome. Yeah, and as a woman, there hasn't been like a lot of times where like I felt like, oh, like like this is a male dominated industry, but I don't see a lot of women in the civil engineering industry. That's a fact, and especially in the area where I do a lot of outreach, and like where I have to like go out there talk to people. I don't see a lot of women, especially South Asian women like me. So that's like one thing that I like do like like acknowledge. And sometimes maybe when you're like in a group and you're working on something, I really like wish that, oh, like if there was like another woman with me, we would be looking at things from a female perspective. So yeah, I think that covers like being a young woman. Being a woman of color, again, as I said, I don't see a lot of South Asian women like me in the industry as much. And even if they are in like like good leading positions, I don't see them in positions where you necessarily need to like go out there and talk to people and like make connections and do networking. I don't see a lot of South Asian women do that. For me, it was a little bit harder because not only I'm a woman of color, but I'm also an immigrant. I came to the United States in 2017, so it's been around like roughly 6 years. Um, and even though I speak English like well enough to like make a conversation, it's not my first language. So there's like a lot of words that I didn't understand initially, and still like a lot of phrases I say them wrong, and like I have to like constantly like teach myself. So that way it was a little bit difficult. And I mean, initially it was very hard for me because there's like a big this like cultural difference. Like they'll be talking about, oh, like American football and like like this American pop culture references that you don't get. And but over time I realized how to like break that ice when I'm talking to someone new, because like talking to people is a part of like big part of my job. So these would be like main challenges that I faced as a young woman of color.
Wow, you've hit a lot of, I mean, experiences, and you've built upon it. And I mean, the fact that you're saying, English is your first like, I mean, you're doing great. And the fact that I mean, the thing is, you are able to
Thank
adapt
you.
and be able to wherever you are, and it's amazing how you're able to do that in your journey. And so I love how you shared that.
Mhm.
And it's still room for improvement as far as needing more women and of color and all that into the space. So I love how you shared that. Let's go further into it. How have you experienced, your experiences shaped your perspective on diversity and inclusion within the energy industry? So how has your experiences shaped it? Your perspective of it.
One thing that I mean, like I think to like that the last question we discussed, I think it leads on to this very question that you've just asked. I think we definitely need like more women of color. And I know a lot of times it can be very overwhelming because when you're looking from the outside, you're like, oh, I don't see people who look like me, like maybe it's not meant for me, or maybe I don't belong here. But I see it as a cycle, like you have to be the pioneer, like for like starting that, because it's just become a cycle. Maybe you don't try it, but then like who are going to be the role models if nobody like actually steps up? I'm not trying like like be narcissistic and say that, oh, I'm the role model. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that my one of my AirPods. I'm just saying that you just have to try and like give yourself a chance to enter that field and see for yourself if it's meant for you or not. And that is something that like it's very like clear in this industry because I don't see a lot of South Asian women. And I do want to mention this. I was at a conference, I think about like a couple of months ago, and the conference was over. I was driving back home, and then I was on the phone with my friend, and I was like just telling her, this is how the conference went, and like sharing a few stories. And then mid conversation, I realized that in that whole conference, I was the only woman. And like there were dinners and stuff where like the men brought their spouses, but then I was the only woman like in that conference, just the conference. I think that like really tells like two things. Firstly, like that means that the men around me, the people who were with me, they didn't really like make me feel like, oh, you're the woman, or you're like, like you don't belong here. They made me feel comfortable, which is why, I mean, like I didn't even realize it. But also the second thing is that we definitely need more women, because if I'm the only woman, then that means there is clearly not enough representation of women. So yeah, I definitely think if there's people from different backgrounds, it's just adds value to the team that you're working in, because you have like like different perspectives coming from people who've lived different lives and have different experiences. So yeah, that's
Love
how I
it.
look at it.
Man, the fact that she was the only woman with the massive amount of guys, I mean, who would have thought?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would have. You're good to not notice that.
Yeah.
I think I might have noticed it. I was like, oh, where the what? But kudos that you were there for
Yeah.
the whatever the topic was about, that you were engaged in it, that you was able to, adapt accordingly with it. So yeah, that's amazing. That yeah, but there is more room for more
Hmm.
to be able to be represented. So thank you for sharing that example. Let's go back to your academic side of things, your academic journey. Were there any mentors or courses during your academic journey that, in particular influenced your career path?
Yeah, so this is very, very interesting because I did my bachelor's in architectural engineering, not civil engineering. Having said that, the college that I went to, University of Texas, Arlington, the architectural engineering degree is actually a part of like civil engineering. So it falls in the Department of Civil Engineering. So I had a lot of similar courses with like civil engineering majors, but but my focus was more on structures, so like buildings and structures and all that, and a little bit of design, of course, because it's architectural engineering. So I was thinking that I will be doing like, after graduate, I'll be working on like buildings, and I'll be doing structures and all that. And I think, yeah, last year of my college, I applied for this research assistantship position with the chair of the department, the chair of Department of Civil Engineering, which is like, the top person for that, for civil engineering department. And after a few meetings, I got it, and I was really, really happy. But 1 week before my RA, my assistant, my job was about to start, he sets up this meeting with me, and he tells me that you are a senior, you should probably um, do an internship instead. And I was like, whoa, like I didn't know how to react, because I was really excited to start this, like this RA job that I was like really, I really seeked out, like I really wanted to be like an RA. But then like he just told me, you have this internship. So I was like, okay, and he told me it's at American Concrete Pipe Association. So I wasn't almost sure, because what I do is not really related to pipe, and that's like civil, and that was not really aligned with my major. But then I had my the like first meeting with the employers, and there were like two people who interviewed me, and then they sent me these documents to review, and they were like, just look at these documents, and let us know if you want to do it. And after, like thinking about it for like a couple of days, I was like, yes, I want to do it, because it's an internship, right? And you're in college. Why, like, I can't say no. Even if it's not directly related to what I do, it will still be an experience. So I did that for about a year. And that is why I am in this industry right now. And I really have to give a shout out to Dr. Abamali, who is the department chair, who was the one who suggested I do the internship, and my supervisor at American Concrete Pipe Association, Margarita, who I'm still in touch with. They both actually are the reason why I'm in this industry. And very, very you might find this funny, but after I graduated, I think after a month I left that internship, because I had to go full time. So I started working at this other firm, which was like, like more related to structures and all that. But then 3 weeks into that job, Margarita gives me a call and says, so there's another job for you. Rinker Materials is hiring. And I was like, oh my God, I just started this job. But then Dr. Abamali again and Margarita, they both convinced me uh, to interview for this position. And that is, like, that is exactly how, like, like how I ended up here. And I would say, even though like the subjects and the major, the courses that I took in school are not directly, like influenced me to choose this career path, but definitely the two mentors or two people that I've mentioned, they definitely like influenced my
Yes, I
career
mean,
path.
your story. I mean, the thing with somebody planting the seed in you. Yeah, senior year, you might need to do an internship. That was awesome that he you needed that in your ear, and
Yeah.
that's what got you to the stepping stone. And I try to encourage that with our young people, and get as many internships if you can. Not, wait till senior year, but the fact that you still got it in there, that's awesome, because a lot of times some of them don't even do that when they graduate, by the time they graduate. So that was awesome that they
Yeah.
plant that seed in you, and having those mentors are important. So I love your story, and to where it got you where you are today. So and it's important. The mentors are important. I talk about sponsorships, having somebody vouch for you in the room. That's important as well. So love that you've got that, and that was a stepping stone to where you are today. Let's talk about the engineering industry. Still going back to our women. In your opinion, what changes are needed
Hmm.
in the industry of engineering to better support the support part of it and encourage our women?
I think women are very much capable of doing the tasks that the men do, like in general, and they're just as smart, just as intelligent. I think the change that we need as an industry, like when I just look at it as a whole, is probably changing the culture. A lot of the culture is still like catering to men, right? Where it's not even an environment where women can like grow as individuals or just as employees in that company. Now, this is a very, very vague statement, but just one thing that I've noticed. It might sound like very trivial, but I do want to mention this. Whenever I go to these like big conferences and big events, they always have this golf tournament, right? And a lot of women don't play golf, right? And neither do I. And whenever there's a golf tournament, I'm like, should I go, should I not? I've never like played golf. Like it's just like one simple example, but it really shows how a lot of activities and things to like encourage networking and talking to people and having a good time when you're at work is very much like still like catering to men, and like it's surrounding like men and like what their interests basically. So I think that could change where maybe something that women will be more interested in. I think I had this conversation with someone. They were like, oh, women can just like learn how to play golf, but I was like, that's the whole point. Like you just proved my point. Like why should a woman go out of her way to learn some like a sport that usually men play? I'm not saying that there are no women who play golf. I mean, like good for them, but then just like like are a majority of women going to know how to play golf? Is that something they would like to do? And I think even like at these golf tournaments, like a lot of people, they make good connections. Like they build like good professional relationships. So women are being like devoid of this chance to actually go out there and do the networking part while having fun. So there's just the whole culture where women can feel comfortable enough to just be themselves or have
Well,
fun.
let's
And
talk about it.
yeah.
Being an engineer, being in the workforce, what other outside things do you do? And I don't call it work life balance. I call it work life integration, work life harmony. Like, what things, what were your thoughts on the whole work life
Yeah.
integration that you maybe take part in with, outside of just working? Yeah, whatever,
Oh, what
since you
I
said
do
have
outside of
fun
work?
type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I do a lot of things. I love watching movies. I can watch like movies all day. I'm like a big movie buff. I have two cats, and I am a big animal lover, so I rescue cats when I can. Like if it's a chance to foster, I have a foster cat in
Mhm.
my like second bedroom right now. I love fostering cats. I love helping animals. I am like a dancer too. I take a lot of dance classes, and probably in a few years I want to like teach my own dance class too. um yeah, that's pretty much it. I've gotten into the habit of reading now. Like that's my goal for next year, read at least 10 books. So yeah, I like to do all kinds of stuff and like hang out with friends, uh try out
Okay.
like
That's
just yeah, just like
Yes,
whatever
that's what
takes
I
your
was
mind
saying.
off
So,
work.
it's cool, but it's
Yeah.
like having that harmony in the process of, from it. So I wanted to at least put that out
Hmm.
there of like, okay, you say what other things are good things to do. So I wanted to throw that in there. So thank you for sharing that. As we, close out for the most part, what are
Hmm.
some final pieces of advice, that you could give to the listeners who might be facing, similar challenges in the industry itself with engineering, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds?
I would say hard work is the first thing that I would mention. I hear this a lot, that, oh, work smart, don't work hard. But I absolutely believe there's no substitute for hard work. Like, if there is a process for you to learn something, you can't do it any other way. There's a process. Like, you have to learn it. Like, it's like, just, like engineering. You can't just have a shortcut, like, to like build a bridge, or like build a, like no, like have something done. So work hard, ask questions, be confident, because I know, like, again, like, people who are from very underrepresented communities, like myself, it can be a little hard to be confident, because like, you, again, you, as going back to my point, you feel like you don't belong. But like, just be confident, because you're there for a reason, or you have it in you to be there. And if you're not confident yet, then make yourself confident, right? Like, do things that will make yourself confident. Speak up, definitely speak up, stand up for yourself. I think, like, maybe because, no, I am in a profession where it needs me to, like, reach out to people a lot, do a lot of talking. But I definitely feel like, no matter where you are, I think it's important to stand, like, like, speak for yourself whenever necessary, and just take a stand for yourself, in any way possible. So do that. And lastly, surround yourself with good people. It's very, very important. Surround yourself with good friends who motivate you, who keep you positive, and not just yes men, who are able to criticize you as well. But just, like, from being, like, as someone who is from, like, again, as I said, not from a community that is not represented enough in that whatever field you're choosing, you just have to try it, like, be the role model. Because, again, as I said, it's a cycle. If you don't, like, if somebody doesn't step up, then it's just, you're just gonna not have anyone from, like, who looks
I
like
love
you
it.
there,
I
right?
love it. Great tips, great points. I mean, those are definitely things that you got to consider, and I love
Hmm.
that whole surround yourself by positive people. Yeah, people of influence, like, that's key. I love it.
Yeah.
So talk to us. How can people
Yeah.
get in touch with you? Just share any ways that other people, if they want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with
Sure. So I am on LinkedIn. You can just type my name, Palisha Sthapit. And yeah, I don't
you?
think there's
You're
anybody else with
unique.
my name. It's just like, especially the combination of the last name and the first name. Yeah. So just look me up on LinkedIn, and I'm there. Send me a connection, or like, give me a follow. I post a lot. Just a heads up here, like, if I'm like showing up on your timeline every week, just a heads up. But yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And if anybody who's listening, who's like, like a young person who's still in college, who has questions, or if you
Love
just
it.
want to
I
chat, I'll be
love that
more
you're
than happy to.
engaging on
Yeah.
these platforms, because LinkedIn's a great way to do the networking, and having informative information on there. That's always a good thing. So I love it. So keep doing what you're doing. It's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for being a great guest.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
Thank
much. It
you.
was so great talking to you, Tiffany.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss our upcoming episodes featuring interviews with inspiring women engineers, discussions about industry trends, and much more. Go to womeninengineeringpodcast.com, where you will find a summary of the key points discussed in today's episode, as well as links to any of the resources, websites, or books mentioned during this episode. Until next time, may your engineering endeavors be as remarkable as the women whose stories we're sharing. Stay curious, keep innovating, and engineer a better future.